Today we are going to have a story with a series of experiences that I'm sure will blow your mind. Because once again you're going to be left thinking about how many things are out there that you still don't know and don't understand. Can you send me your paranormal experience to the WhatsApp number that is currently displayed on the screen? It doesn't matter the number of audios or the duration, and you can add all the material you think is appropriate to make your story as complete as possible. I will review everything and contact you if I have any doubts. I leave all the important links in the description and in a pinned comment. And I want to invite you all that this Saturday, the 29th, we're going to do a live on the channel. After a long hiatus, we're doing a live stream again. To chat with you for a while and also to show you some little things that have been arriving lately, so don't forget, this coming Saturday, March 29th, I'll be waiting for you at 10 o'clock at night, Argentina time, right here where we will be live. Friends, we start right now with this new story, and don't forget to leave your opinion by commenting what you think about this case that we are going to hear today, and if something similar has ever happened to you. Let's get started. I've heard many stories in my town, some that border on the impossible. Although, on second thought, nothing I'm going to tell you has a rational explanation, so everyone can take it as they like. I think that's why I've only shared it with 3 trusted people until today, and where I knew that, whether they believe me or not, they wouldn't label me as crazy. One thing I'm very clear about is that the interior of the provinces holds secrets. Stories are hidden in every corner. For example, there are abandoned houses where only a few know what happened when it was inhabited, and they simply keep it to themselves, remaining a mystery that will never be known. I currently live in Luján de Cuyo, province of Mendoza, but I was born and raised in San José de Hachal, province of San Juan. I'm gonna tell you some stories from my homeland and then an incredible experience that happened here in Mendoza. Something that happened to me while I was with my father and my wife. The 3 of us saw something that left us totally amazed. Hachal is known at least by the locals as a land of witches. I heard stories and legends on the channel that confirm this. And I'm really glad that such a small village reaches the ears of many people. Knowing that part and that reality that is lived daily and that in general terms is a little talked about topic. And in this place, like in so many others, there are people who just repeat something they were told, something that supposedly happened, but it's not known if it was true or not. Today, I want to share something that my family and I experienced firsthand, not something that was merely told to me. We experienced it firsthand. This happened right next to the house where I grew up, where my dad and mom currently live. After the year 2001, like in so many other homes in Argentina, very complicated economic times were being experienced. My parents had lost their jobs. I was 14, my sister was 10, so you can imagine that those were not times to be relaxed. My dad was hustling with different mechanic jobs, as he knows a lot about the subject, and my mom? After searching everywhere, she found a job with a new neighbor who had moved next door. This woman was originally from a neighborhood close to the capital of San Juan, and supposedly, after her divorce, she had decided to move and start a new life in a completely different place. That's how she arrived in Hachal and settled next to our house. She had sewing machines and apparently she made overalls and dust coats for a major company in Cordoba. The job was quite simple. My old lady knew about sewing, so she accepted and started a relationship with this woman as a neighbor, friend, and employee. From the beginning, my mom realized that it was not normal. Although she behaved in a friendly, kind manner, she was always predisposed to everything. My old lady used to say, and I remember because she mentioned it during meals, "This woman is up to something strange." She said it all the time. But the truth is that there were no reasons to accuse her of anything. She had a life that seemed totally normal. She behaved totally normal. So it ended up as simple comments. But a few months later, I don't know how long it took, there were 2 moments that marked a before and after. One afternoon, my old lady was in the workshop inside this lady's house working like every day. And she decided to take off the little chain she was wearing because it was causing her an allergy. She took it off and left it on the same machine and continued working normally. According to my mother, a little while later, this woman comes in, stands next to the machine, and tells my mother to remove that chain from the house immediately. She said it in a tone that showed anger. It showed more of a rejection. She told her it was always with her, a gift from her sister, and there was no issue. She would put it away right away. To better understand the situation, let me tell you that it was a medallion of Saint Michael the Archangel, blessed in the Vatican, and that my aunt had given it to my mom after a trip. She grabbed it, put it in her pocket, said nothing, and continued working without really understanding why this had bothered her so much. This woman, without moving an inch, repeated the same thing to her again. That at that precise moment she should take the house key off and never bring it again if she wanted to keep working. There, my wife understood. Above all, the religious image had disturbed her the most. There was no other reason, especially since she asked her, and she didn't want to answer. She just kept repeating over and over that she didn't want the chain in the house. Let's keep in mind something. My old lady is a woman who speaks with calmness. She speaks very softly and is naturally quiet. I don't believe she ever has in her life. Did she ever berate someone for something? Her life, especially during her childhood, was really tough, and for this reason I think she has such a submissive temperament. From then on, the relationship between them was not the same. My old lady, upon entering the house every day, had to show her neck, pockets and purse to prove that she didn't have it on her. A real madness, but she needed the job and there were no chances to refuse to comply. That whim. But not only this happened. One night, my mom, in the middle of the night, woke up and saw her leaving her house, from the back. The land overlooks an open field and she saw very clearly because everything was illuminated. How she walked about 20 meters, dressed completely in black and disappeared before her eyes. This confirmed that the strange thing she perceived, that she felt this very strange sensation, was because it was a witch or something similar. From there also came that strong rejection towards the religious image of Saint Michael the Archangel. At first glance it would seem to make all sense, but it could also just be a confusion. Perhaps the woman was an atheist and felt a rejection for everything religious, for some personal issue. It could be possible. And the night she disappeared? It could be a matter of flight, fatigue, confusion, who knows? And nothing more than that. But it was weeks later that my dad found out about something. After that night, my mom resigned from working with her in a very professional manner, so she wouldn't suspect, saying that my dad had found something better and she would finally dedicate herself to making meals on demand. My dad had just received a van to fix a mechanical issue, and when the owner came to pick it up at our house that same afternoon, he told us something that sent shivers down our spines. I was present and heard it all. The man was not from Hachal but from Villa Kraus in the capital, and he told us that the woman who lived next door to us had been driven out by the neighbors precisely from those parts, accused of being a witch. Some didn't believe, others did, but the reality is that according to him, since she left, everything changed for the better. The thing is, that woman was next to our house for several years and then she disappeared overnight. Even all her belongings were left in the house, including the sewing machines, which ended up being stolen by people who found out. Personally, I have to admit that we never had any serious problems with this woman, other than the ones I told you about, and we never perceived anything bad. But today, there is a family and, according to them, the house is haunted. I have no idea what's going on because they never told my parents, but it somehow confirms that this woman left a very bad energy imprinted in that place. Some years later, I moved to Mendoza for work, where I currently live with my wife and children. And what I'm going to tell you happened in 2018, if I remember correctly. It was in the month of November. My old man had come to visit. He was staying for about a week. He already knew. But during those days, the idea was always to go out as much as possible, showing him different places in the area. Among all these places, we went one weekend to Carrizal because my old man is a fishing fanatic. We stayed at a campsite from Saturday until Sunday afternoon. We had a great time. We didn't fish much, but the idea was to be together, and that was the most important thing. As it was almost getting dark that Sunday, we started the journey back to my house, which was about 50 kilometers away. but we stopped at a food place to eat something and end the night in the best way possible. It was around 8:30 in the evening when we finally started our journey home. For those unfamiliar with the area, the route is quite direct. You have to take Route 16 and from there connect with 40 straight to Mendoza. What happened to us that night was shortly after we got on Route 16. It's a route that at that time tends to be completely desolate and quite dark. In fact, I don't have the exact location, but we were relatively close to getting on Route 40 when a very, very powerful light appears in front of us. Although it was quite dazzling, it was noticeable that its hue was not white, but rather bluish. I stopped almost abruptly because I thought a car or a truck was coming at us, but no. When I braked, the strange thing was that the car completely turned off. It was in contact, the lights never turned off, but the engine completely stopped. We were just staring at this. My old man even got out. I should clarify that he's a country guy who isn't afraid of the devil. And I could see how he took a few steps forward, shielding himself because the light was blinding him, and he just stood there. Then, this light, in a leap, because it was in 1,000th of a second, rises, staying at a height of about 20 or 30 meters in front of us. I apologize, but it's hard to give measurements because it wasn't very clear to see. The point is that seconds later it was as if it imploded. It turned off on itself. I hope it's understood. It didn't move, it didn't make any signal, nothing, it simply ceased to exist. The smell at all times was similar to acetone, to thinner, to a diluent. Something like that, by the way. When everything happened, I got out and checked the car to rule out that it wasn't some problem with the engine. We stood there for about 15 minutes and absolutely nothing else happened. My father and wife were as impressed as me. It remained our conversation topic for days until its return to Hachal. And I clarify that we were not afraid at all times. We felt more like we were being watched. Nowadays, on each of their visits, whether both of them come or just my dad, at his request we go to Carisal. We try to fish a bit and always return at the same time, respecting everything we did that night to try to repeat that moment as special as it was astonishing. Thank you very much for making it to the end. I would like to know what you think about this story, if something similar has ever happened to you, and please don't forget. This Saturday, March 29th at 10:00 post Meridian, we're going to be live here chatting for a bit, and we're also going to look at some things that have been coming to me recently. Friends, I won't keep you any longer, and now I send a big hug to all of you.